So our next speaker is from Sky Mavis, the maker of Axie Infinity, going to be talking about the utility of NFTs, which is hugely important. Please give a warm New York welcome. Put your hands together, please, for Andrew Campbell, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. I am the program lead for esports and content creators at Sky Mavis. We work on Axie Infinity. I have a really fun job. I get to do the easy stuff. I get to amplify the amazing organic energy that exists at Axie Infinity on a base layer. Esports can't make great games, but it can amplify great games into amazing user engagement. I think we're going to start today by talking about the basis of Axie Infinity tokenomics. We have our AXS token. It's a governance token. It has a fixed supply. It does exactly what you think it would. It's going to be the governance token for our DAO. It's going to be how some of our best players help us navigate this space and govern the game. On the other side, we've got SLP, the Smooth Love Potion. It's a great token to be the driving force behind our play-to-earn engine. This is really the backbone of the Axie Infinity play-to-earn or play-and-earn economy that so many people are familiar with. SLP tokens get created anytime one of our players wins an arena match on our matchmaking competitive leaderboard. This is a key aspect of rewarding players that actually contribute to our ecosystem in a meaningful way. A lot of tokens get minted, but also tokens get burned every time players decide to breed Axies together and bring another one into existence. This creates an interesting challenge for us as a game developer because NFTs are supposed to be immutable, and technically they are, right? Axies are made out of 6 parts. Those parts never change, but those parts represent different cards within the battle universe that is the Axie Infinity card game, previously known as Axie Classic, now Axie Origin that's getting close to its global launch. This is a pretty difficult thing to balance because our players expect us to deliver value for their investments on our game assets as well as our game tokens, but they also expect us to deliver a AAA quality, fun game that is highly competitive and has this revolving door of rock, paper, scissors style balance, except we have way more parameters that we have to maximize for. It represents a significant challenge, but we prioritize fun above all else because that is why we're here, right? We're all gamers because we love games, we love competitive experiences, and esports can only be built on top of a layer that has that kind of organic energy that's ready to be amplified. When we talk about scaling the universe, there's a lot of ways that we can shift our economy from a growth-based model to one that is more deflationary in nature, right? One potential example is combining Axies together to level up an existing Axie, right? One Axie gets destroyed in this process, but together a new thing is born that's either more powerful or has more options or something along those lines, right? There's a lot of ways that you can build out these game loops, but that's always been part of the vision. Right now, we are absolutely reliant on a growth model, and we remain bullish and optimistic about that growth model being an accurate forecast of the future. We saw it happen in real time. The team's been around for 4 years. I've been with them for 15 months, and I joined right before that growth cycle started. So we've learned not to underestimate the potential of these gamified mechanisms that can bring financial education and awareness to these decentralized protocols that can help the people that need them the most, right? People in emerging economies like Southeast Asia, South America, where the gap in the global purchase parity actually makes a lot of sense. Axies never die, but sometimes they might need to go on an adventure that they never come back from. We experimented with this with what we called the Lunassian Express, where we let Axies join the train to go on an infinite journey, maybe to send future nodes back to their owners. But the idea here was to run our very first experiment to see how many of our players would actually engage in what's commonly known as a burning mechanism, for really no reward aside from a little cosmetic token in Axie land gameplay at some point in the future saying, hey, you burned some Axies and you rolled some dice and you might have gotten lucky and gotten that Crimson Tiger. Congratulations, it does absolutely nothing. We still were able to burn thousands of Axies, and it was an interesting use case to show the demand of how powerful these mechanisms can be. But they have to be integrated into an aspect of the core game loop. And I think that's the fundamental aspect of what makes Axie possible in terms of this play-to-earn economy having any basis or stability to it. The Axies are the NFTs that are represented in the game. They're not just another skin or another centralized marketplace that's representing sort of a payment processor replacement. It represents something completely novel of integrating the NFTs into the actual gameplay. In terms of utility, we see Axie as a universe, and this universe is still barely deployed, maybe 20 or 25% complete. And I say universe very specifically because there is and should be only one metaverse, but there can be many individual universes of different IP that are all connected through this Web3 future. Me personally, I'm very bullish on the idea of interoperability. I think everybody in this room is here because they believe in some sort of weird future that's maybe a little utopian in nature, where all of these EVMs and different protocols can work together in harmony and we can have some sort of Ready Player One style future, at least to some degree. I don't know exactly how we get there because right now so many of us feel like competitors, but at the same time, if we don't work together for that common goal, then our value proposition isn't necessarily that different than what exists in the world today. I often think of Axie as a platform, and we seem very reliant on user-generated content to push the needle forward. I come from the Dota 2 space. Right? Dota was born on the Warcraft 3 map editor. This was a platform that anyone could use to create content, and that content was so good that it birthed an entire new genre. League of Legends, Dota 2, Mobile Legends, all of these other sorts of games that exist out there are MOBAs within this genre to some degree or another because of that user-generated content that was passed on in a very decentralized way before decentralization was even a cool thing to talk about. It's a very powerful story and I think a very bullish use case on a lot of the things that the people in this room are working so hard to create. We definitely see our users as a vehicle to help scale the utility of Axies. Right now, there's Axie Classic and Axie Origin. That's not a large offering of ways that you can use your Axies. So right now, it kind of feels like if we change their power in Axie Origin or we nerf a card in Axie Classic, we're changing the nature of that NFT. But that won't be the case once there's all these different games that exist. There could be an Axie racing game, an Axie fighting game, an Axie first-person shooter, maybe even an Axie MOBA. All of these games are very complex. They're exceptionally hard to make. It's so hard to say, I want to compete with Dota 2 with an Axie MOBA. It's possible, but it's going to take many years of iteration for this kind of a game to exist. But our community is going to be there to help build these concepts. We already have the Axie Builders program where we've accepted 12 different projects to take our support and use Axie as a platform to actually build a new sort of IP in a new game. Some of our builders might actually be the ones that create the future of Axie esports and the future of Axie games. In some way, I see what we're building right now as a catalyst to inspire these third parties that'll be able to build profitable business ventures based off of this base ecosystem. We've got about a minute left here, and I think I'd love to tackle this question that I get so commonly about folks that reach out and say, Sayori, Axie's figured it out. They cracked the code on play to earn, at least to some degree. You had the bull run. You've inspired this big change. What's the secret? We want to launch our own rewards token, and how do we do it just like you? And sometimes I want to say, invent a time machine because you got to be early. That was a big part of it. You have to make a game that's fun to play, and you have to have an IP that's attractive and inclusive. I think that's one of the most beautiful things about Axie is that it opens up the door to a very wide variety of gamers and gaming experiences. It's something that can be built with a very meaningful and graphical land experience for folks that don't want to experience that sense of urgency and hyper-competitive nature that exists on the leaderboard of the card games. As we talked about, the builders will open up a whole door that doesn't exist yet. You need to ask yourself, where does the buy pressure come from? Why do people need to buy your token or your NFT to exist in your ecosystem? In the case of Axie, it's clear. It's the game asset that you actually use to play with. That's a key question that needs to be answered. And is there game theory around the sell pressure? Do your users have options to reinvest in your ecosystem? Do they have options to burn tokens if you have an infinite supply? And do they have ways to meaningfully engage with the things that they've purchased? What keeps them locked in? If you're using staking rewards to keep people locked into your ecosystem, ask yourself, what happens when you run out of that finite supply of tokens? And with that, I need to close things out. Thank you so much for listening, and please continue to build utility into your projects.
What happens when you run out of that finite supply of seconds? Andrew Campbell, everybody. Boom. Well done. Thank you.